Alright, let's see if I could plow through this one fast. I did not sleep well last night, but I want to get this done soon. I could only put this out and have it be relevant within a short time frame. Just a preamble for people who aren't familiar with my formatting. I rate games based off the year I beat them. If the game doesn't have a definitive end, I kinda just either choose an arbitrary end, or if they're like a multiplayer game, then I kinda just hold that separately anyways. I hold multiplayer games separately from single player experiences because I play them for different reasons and I don't really think comparing them is really fair. I didn't actually play a whole lot of games this year once again because I have a life now. I rate things out of 5. 3 out of 5 is a positive score. That means game good. Let's jump right into the honorable mention. Hi, I'm tired. The game I absolutely played the most this year is Minecraft. I don't need to explain why Minecraft is good. Everyone knows what Minecraft is. Here, look at things I did. I spent a lot of time just like hosting little events, so my main world that I actually do progress in doesn't actually have a whole lot of progress. Or rather, not as much progress as you'd expect from how much time I put into Minecraft this year, but you know, I'm kind of pushing myself, learning how to be better, investing into efficiency and infrastructure while also trying to push myself to be better at building, because it's always been something I've wanted to do. I've learned that I'm actually pretty interested in redstone, so I've built some small contraptions. I'm pretty proud of this homegrown shulker loader. Here's the other couple things I designed. I'll put it on screen. Hopefully I'm not too lazy. Not much more to say about that. Sonic Rumble is a free, basically mobile game. It literally is a mobile game. It feels like a mobile game. You can tell you're playing a mobile game. It is Fall Guys Friends Slop. It's a little bit faster paced than Fall Guys, not actually in gameplay, but more so it actually has reasonable loading times and queue times. Gameplay's kind of samey. There needs to be more variety. There's terrible sorta pay-to-win mechanics. It's free slop. I mean, it's fine. It's something to play with friends. I don't like Sonic still. What else do you want me to say? Straftat. I mentioned this last year. I probably mentioned this last year. It's free, very free. Fun game, multiplayer shooter, arena shooter, kind of fast-paced, very original. I love the stylization of it. They added a 4-player mode, I think this year. It might have been late last year, something I don't remember. Time's an illusion made up by us. So put more time into that. Not really much else to say that I haven't said previously. It's a good thing that's free. Go play it. Anna Dream Barbecue Chapter 1 came out. I am a huge Anna head. I have this plush on my shelf that is not the currently available popular Fangamer one that has infinite quantities, but in fact number 12 of a limited run plush that came before. But yeah, Anna's a thing that I like, so I was obviously very excited for Dream Barbecue. I was disheartened when it was delayed, but completely understandable. My opinions on it. It's not on my regular list of games I beat because it is very, very obvious that it is the first chapter of a game. It feels like a demo. You could tell it's a demo. So I'm not going to count it as a full game, because that wouldn't be fair. You could tell this is someone who is coming in with not a lot of game design experience, but it feels like Anna, which is great. I had this unfortunate thing that is not necessarily the game's fault, where I seen a lot of the most interesting things the game had to offer first, and that set my expectations too high. And then as I went through the game, I kind of felt disappointed. As I settled with it, I kind of, all the bad feelings of expectations that I set for myself kind of went away, and I'm pretty happy with it. I've played through it quite a few times for various reasons, sometimes with friends, just sometimes achievement hunting. I just like it. It is a very cozy vibe, very interesting. I love the characters. As always, there's subtle, impactful writing that can be very easily written off as nonsense. Something I love about Anna's series is that the way language is used kind of forces the viewer to or observer, or whatever you want to call the audience. It kind of forces the audience to not take things that are being said literally. If you try to take what they say literally, then you're just not gonna get anything out of it, which, to be fair, a lot of people don't. But yeah, it's abstraction of language that feels very natural while also being comedic in an absurdist sense. But you could still tell when people are being formal or using slang. You could kind of sometimes tell when they're being literal, sometimes metaphorical. There's very obvious parallels to real world types of people in Anna's universe, which, you know, everyone has a great, very vibrant personality. It's just entertaining as hell as well. Very great humor to it in general. Shoutouts Coral Glasses, shoutouts Tasky Maiden, shoutouts Me Too, that's her name, thank you. Wikis online. One thing I was disappointed in, because of course I'm gonna only complain about the things that I love, I didn't really like that all the side quests kind of tied into each other. I don't think it's bad that the different routes lead to the same ending, but it is kind of disappointing that if you want to do all the side quests, you're basically just doing a second route entirely instead of actually being side quests that are self-contained and individual, if that makes sense. Like, I don't mind that all the side quests are required to get the alternate ending, but it is kind of disappointing that it kind of just strings you along a linear path where you get all the pets, then you deal with the Watcher, then you deal with the witches, then you deal with the wizard, and then you get the alternate route. I mentioned earlier that I ran across the coolest parts of the game early on. The interior of the ship is a pointless area that has an extremely eerie atmosphere, and I really liked it. I liked that it had absolutely no purpose, and I wish there was more areas that had absolutely no purpose like that. Secondarily would be the Red Maze, I believe it's called. The Maze, either way. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. God, that was so damn cool. Yeah, having those two, like, okay, let me actually talk about the maze for a second. Having a hidden area inside a hidden area and having that area being so off-putting and eerie, and the cacophony of the sound design, the off-putting visuals, the design that is... what's the word I'm trying to use here? Hostile. The whole thing is just hostile. And then the way that it all pays off is just absolutely amazing. It gave a very Yume Nikki vibe, and I was expecting the entire game to be like parallel to Yume Nikki, based off of those first two areas that I found almost immediately. And I think a Yume Nikki style game would very much fit the Anna universe. But it ended up being a very linear game outside of those two areas, where most areas have a express purpose. And that's not necessarily bad, it just was a letdown compared to what I thought the game would be. So, you know, I hope they have more of those secrets, those pointless areas, those kind of just off-putting, offbeat things in the game. Let's move on to the next thing. Library of Ruina. Still didn't beat it. I'm not going to talk about it further than that. The end game, actually, let me just say an explanation as to why I still haven't beaten it. The end game is, well, the whole game kind of has pacing problems, but the end game is exhausting. Not in the tedious way, but more in the constantly at 100 sort of way. And I'm going to move on because that is a topic that requires so much talking, and now is not the time. Demon Bluff, a demo for a game that is basically just roguelike logic puzzles, and I think it was good. I think they need more clarity in the rules. Having the note system is great. The writing on the screen note system is great, but the fact that there's no eraser and you can only undo linearly kind of makes it not entirely useless, but near useless. A lot less useful, I should say, rather than useless. It's a demo, so this feels like a stupid complaint, but there just isn't a whole lot of replay value there. There's not a whole lot of content once you've seen all the cards, once the rules start clicking. It does feel nice once the rules start clicking and you start, like, logicking things out. But, you know, once you get there, there's nowhere to go beyond that, because it's a demo. It's a playtest, so that was fun. Lunacid is a game that I'm currently playing. I thought I would be able to beat it for the time of this video so that I could rank it. If I did, it would be top 3, but I'm still in the end game. It's my fault because I want to get 100% in the game. Not 100%, but I want to get near 100% before beating the game. So I'm not going to talk too much about that right now because I'll end up talking about it in next year's video, or if not a whole ass video, but probably not a whole ass video. But it was good, or it is good. It is really good. Really good. I recommend it if you like more esoteric things. If you appreciate design that is a bit outside of the norm, it's great. Or if you just really like thick atmosphere, world building, such and such, or collecting things. Alright, 2025 is the year that Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 came out. I don't really need to say much more than I am a Deltarune fan, and I don't want to get down into a rabbit hole because there's so much I could say about Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4, but it's also a disservice to not talk about it, especially since we're only a few months away from Chapter 5, which is gonna change the landscape. Something about Deltarune that I didn't really appreciate about anything in general, really, is the cultural relevance of the wait between chapters and how that changes the landscape of not just community, but how we perceive the game. I'm not going to be able to have this conversation after Chapter 5 comes out, because the context will have changed so much. Or at the very least, it's not going to be the same type of conversation as if I blurted out all my thoughts on chapters 3 and 4 right now. I obviously love Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 because Undertale is deservedly one of the highest touted games of my generation. It is, it's Undertale, man. What do I gotta fucking say? I'm a queer. I'm a queer who likes games. Of course, I'm in love with Undertale. And of course, I'm in love with Deltarune. As I was replaying chapters 1 and 2 leading up to 3 and 4, I kind of got the sense of, because it's been so many years and there's a separation going on, I was replaying it and I was like, this is a lot of fun, but I don't know if I am in love with this as much as I thought I was for Undertale, or when I initially played the first 2 chapters under the context of those releases. Because again, the cultural relevance of Deltarune is so impactful to how you engage with it. And you could really see that in Chapter 1, especially as we get more and more chapters. The context of Chapter 1's release was mind-boggling, and as we get more and more of the game, your perception of Chapter 1 shifts, not just because you're removed from the context of its release, which, if you aren't aware, it was shadow dropped, not even as a game, but as a test survey program, 3 years after Undertale, after like no word from Toby Fox. And you just get this game that is the size of Undertale almost. Not quite, but like Neutral Route. It is the size of Neutral Route Undertale, and it gets shadow dropped on you. And not only is it by the creator of Undertale, it's also immediately obvious how much higher the polish is, and it's setting up all these seeds. It's planting all these seeds and setting up so much, and it's also a really good self-contained story. Of course, we're all gonna fucking freak out about it. Oh my god, I don't want to go on forever, mostly because I don't want this video to be 2 hours long. Oh my god, the recording's already 20 minutes and I haven't gotten to the top 10. Chapter 4 changed things. I'm not the biggest on Chapter 3. I don't think Tenna was a character with enough depth for me to give a shit about the normal plot of Chapter 3. The character moments between the fun gang, or as I prefer, the shit squad, I loved the character moments between the three, especially in the Zelda and Zelda sections. But the actual arc of Chapter 3 was not very impactful for me. Not the weird route stuff, the sword route, that's what they call it. The sword route stuff was amazing, and by far the best part of the chapter, but that's kind of feels very self-contained to me. Ignoring the sword route, the majority of Chapter 3 just felt like a fun distraction that didn't really contribute much. Chapter 4 completely made me reshift how I think about not just Deltarune, but also Undertale and community engagement, fandom, and kind of art as a whole, and I'm not exaggerating. Of course, this is chapter 4, building off of the context of the first 3 chapters. It's not just chapter 4 in a bubble is making me rethink art as a concept, but still, you kind of get what I'm going for here. And just saying that on its own really doesn't do it justice, but hopefully just saying that is enough for now for the scope of this video to kind of give you guys the idea of how impactful that is. Please let me know if you're interested in hearing me ramble about my thoughts on chapter 4 and the impact it has on context and culture and basically all the themes I just said here. I would love to make a ramble video about that. I just don't know if I am gonna be able to put it out in a time where it will be relevant without some sort of external motivator, so be my external motivator. Anything else I have on the honorable mention side? I do. Archipelago is, how do I describe this? Multi-world randomizer is the quickest way to describe it, and it's kind of hard to describe without just showing it. Basically, if you know, surely you know what a randomizer mod is. It's basically, what if multiple people could play randomizer mods interconnected wise? And what if the randomizer mod, what the game they played with the randomizer mod, didn't matter? What if one person could be playing Pokemon Emerald, and another person could be playing Link to the Past, and another person could be playing, fuck it, Lunacid? And what if all the items were randomized across those worlds? So you could find Lunacid spells in Link to the Past. You could find fucking, I don't know, Zelda Boomerang and the location of, I don't know, Emerald locations offhand. That's the gist of it. Cross-world item randomization, and it's multi-game, and it's a really cool thing that I've been wanting to try, and I've got the opportunity to try it on different scales with just a couple people and with like 50 people. And it's a very interesting experience, and I think I'm going to be investing a lot of time into it in 2026 as well. I'm not one to replay games much. I'm not one to really mod games much. But having that social layer of being able to communicate, like, hey, are you able to access this? This is what I got for you. Is this useful to you? Do you think you could try to find this for me? Do you think maybe, oh, if you see this, this is going to be useful for me? It's having that social layer makes it so much more fun. And depending on the game, the randomizer settings can be either pretty tame or pretty out there, to the point where someone like me who doesn't really enjoy playing games, even if it's like a modified version, will still feel like it's fresh. Banjo-Tooie is the best experience I've had with it so far. Cavern of Dreams was really good, but also kind of poor at the same time, because Cavern of Dreams is really well built as a game to support Archies, I say Archie. But the actual like modding stuff, the Archipelago connectivity is jank. This is all community run, by the way. Obviously, it's all based off of mods. All these different games are modded by different people. All the interconnected, the connectors to the Archie client and stuff are made by different people. There's there's trackers that show maps where it shows where all the items in the game are, and it shows you live updates as to what things are able to be gotten to you based on the logic of what the items you have are. It's really cool. There's a lot of layers to it. You can make it as simple or complex as you want, and it's beautiful, because people who don't really have a lot of overlap in games they enjoy can come together and play cooperatively together. And you don't even have to be playing at the same time or anything. It's a great connector for online community, and it's a really cool thing. Overall, very cool thing indeed. Okay. The actual top 10 list, which is the top 10 list where it feels kind of cheated because I beat exactly 10 games this year once again. Better than missing the mark, I guess. Okay, starting from the bottom as usual. The only 2 of the 5 that I have ranked, which 2 of 5 means like I don't regret playing it, but it wasn't something I would do again if I went back in time. Paratopic. It felt like a waste of time. A lot of nothing nothing going on. The driving sections were just like, oh my fucking god, I get it. I do not have to hold W for 5 fucking minutes in an environment where there's no visuals. Please, God. The plot was too vague to be interesting. The PSX aesthetics are... I like PSX aesthetics, but they're overdone in horror games, especially horror games. It's an oversaturated style that you can't just throw out on its own and expect me to get excited for, especially in horror games. So the plot's not there, the gameplay's boring, the visual style isn't there. It just felt like nothing. I will give them this. I liked walking around the forest area with the empty shipping crates. I enjoyed that specific area. I felt that specific area was fun. Otherwise, it was just so nothing. It felt like a waste of time, to be honest. And I probably would have rated it lower if it weren't like, I think it's like a 20-30 minute game. I could check really quick. I have 40 minutes on Steam. Moving on, we're in the 3 out of 5 range, which is just good. UFO, unidentified falling objects, is it's a puzzle game in the same vein as Tetris being a puzzle game, falling blocks game. It's not the type of game that I would ever really get super attached to. It's inherently arcadey and repetitive, and I don't fuck with repetition that much. It has some more linear aspects to it that made me cling to it a little harder, and I didn't just immediately bounce off of it after a couple hours like most of these types of games would. But at the end of the day, how do I describe this? I know there's puzzle games I played like this before. You gotta line up all the colors, and then it's like Tetris where you want to maximize the amount of things you could get. Like you want to be able to pile up the blocks as high as you can, so you could clear as many of the blocks as you can at once to rack up more points. But obviously, the higher you get to the top, the more you stack up, the closer you are to that danger zone. So it's a risk reward kind of thing there. UFO does it in a color matching sense where you match the colors of the blocks and then you break the blocks, and then all of the blocks of that color will break, and that gets you points. And then there's like hazards, and you're like a physical sounds a little dumb in this context, but you're like an actual character jumping around the blocks, and you're not just like you're not outside of the game controlling it. You are a character within the playing field, and that does make it a little bit more interesting. Something that I kind of have mixed feelings on is that you could change the way that you rearrange the blocks through equipment in the game, and that vastly changes how you engage with the game. On top of that, one of the first things I unlocked was so much more powerful, so much easier to use, so much quicker and intuitive to use, that I never had a reason to try anything else. I did try the others, and it was like, oh, this would be a cool idea if I didn't have something that worked better and easier. Like, don't get me wrong, there are things that you can do with this that you cannot do with this, but the overall reliability of this unlockable is so high that you really gotta be in love with the game to really push yourself to try those other options, which kind of sucks, because if it were only these more restrictive options, then the game would have a very unique feel to it. But I'm gonna be honest, the best, most powerful tool doesn't feel that unique. It's fine though, it's good. If you are watching this footage and being like, oh yeah, this is the type of game I like, then you're probably gonna like it. It's not like a deceptive game. What you're seeing is basically what you're getting. Rental, short little horror game. That was good. It feels kind of like a student project. There's so little. It's like, 20 minutes long at most. It's cute. I don't really have much more to say about it. It's like Resident Evil puzzle solving, wandering around, pick up the things. The maze can suck my ass. I don't really like mazes. It's cute. I don't have much to say about it. Let's move on. Fatum Betula is a game that, similar to Anna from earlier, I went into it expecting it to be a Yume Nikki style game. And then it wasn't, and that let me down at no fault of the game. I was just expecting there to be a lot more in the game. That's the biggest thing with Fatum Betula, is there's really only like 4 or 5, not literally 4 or 5, but there's only like 4 or 5 like actual rooms to walk around with and explore. And for the most part, they were decent, but nothing that really grabbed me too much. I did really, really, really like this framing right here, and I enjoyed the rest of the area that it connects to as well. The nightmare zone here is also visually very cool, and of course, once again, one of the first things I encountered, which set my expectations high, and then the rest of the game had no more of that cool thing that I really liked. If I went into the game knowing that it was a game where I would be collecting different types of fluids to see different types of endings within a small puzzle box, then I wouldn't be so harsh on it. But that is ultimately what it is. It is very environmentally atmospheric focused, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just didn't feel the atmosphere hit for me personally more than like this one area. I guess this area kinda as well, but the game being focused on atmosphere leaves a big gap in the writing department. And there's quite a bit of like developer commentary hidden in the game, if you're willing to look for it, and the developer does straight up say that the writing's probably the weakest part and it wasn't a high priority, and that the atmosphere is the highest priority. So it's cool being, I guess, feel vindicated in that even the developer agrees with me that the writing felt like an afterthought. The different endings don't really form a cohesive worldview, or, well, no, they form a cohesive worldview. I know exactly the type of person that the developer is based off these endings, and that's like maybe a little presumptuous, but you understand this sort of perspective. You've seen these sorts of perspectives before if you're like me and actually submerged in queer far left shit. The endings had very little to do with your actual actions in the world for the most part. You kind of just like do a thing, not even do a thing, you kind of just like find a thing, and then the game goes like, capitalism is bad, or violence perpetuates violence, and then it's like, okay, sure, that's like a correct and good thing to think, but this comes from nowhere? Like, where did this come from? It's delivered in a very blunt and shallow way that really rubs me the wrong way. I was rolling my eyes at most of the endings. I did really like is maybe a bit strong, but I did like a couple of the endings. I can't remember off the top of my head. Right. Okay. It's both of the endings that come from the suburbs area. And even that has an asterisk, because the first half of the soup ending, I was rolling my eyes until the philosophy kind of switched. And then I don't want to just directly say what the endings are. I want people to actually play these games. Please play the games. Don't take my word for, oh, it's shit. It's just a game that does not provide what I'm personally looking for. Yeah, it's very, I don't know, it feels very shallow, very like this is the first thing I thought of and didn't really think to polish it all kind of vibes. Am I pretentious? Yes I am. But yeah, the one ending with the one ending that ends in the suburbs area in front of the TV. You will probably know what I'm getting at here. That is a good ending. I felt that, well, first of all, the ending that you end up with actually has something to do with the actions you took. There's a direct line between what you did and the outcome. Second of all, it wasn't just brute force philosophy, doomerism about how the world sucks. Oh, actually, let me back up a step while I have it on my mind. The joke skeleton ending was also good. Okay, back to what I was saying. There was enough subtlety in the delivery that it felt deserved. But it felt deserved because of the actions that led to the ending. And then they don't just like tell you how it is. They open the door and show you a thing. And then you get to take away from that, which is good. Thumbs up. If you like what you are visually seeing right now, and good environments is enough for you to like things, then please go play it. It is good on that front. I'm just a little pretentious shit about writing and narrative. Sludge Life 2. Sludge Life 1 was a game that I very, very much appreciated and was very taken surprise of. That's not how that phrase works. But I really, really liked Sludge Life 1, and it felt like a really hidden gem that spoke to me personally, both on the gameplay front and the writing front. Sludge Life 2, in comparison, isn't bad. It's a good game. I think it's worse than the original. One part because of the physical structure of the world made it less interesting to explore. In one part because they tried to go bigger with the story, and I kind of feel like that is the antithesis of what I liked Sludge Life for. I like Sludge Life for the mundanity, the stillness of it all. And Sludge Life 2 still has that mundanity and stillness, but it feels like there's okay. Sludge Life 1 had this very oppressive corporate overhang vibe to the whole thing, but in a way where it feels like everything is the same and this is just day-to-day life for everyone. Sludge Life 2 has a corporate overhang still, but it feels like something is on the verge of happening, something big that is going to change everything is about to happen, and I don't like that. It kind of takes away from it, of the whole atmosphere that the first game had when you have everyone focused on this big thing that's about to happen. It's harder to get invested in the world of a bunch of people who are actually living their lives and going about their business normally when everything revolves around a plot point. When there isn't a plot point to circle around, that all the characters are circling around, you get to just see people. Sludge Life 2 still has people, but it feels less people-y because they're all focused on the one thing. Now, keep in mind, it has been like 9-10 months since I played it, so I might be getting these details wrong. I might be exaggerating the problem when I don't mean to. I don't remember how many characters actually talk about the big thing. I don't even remember off the top of my head exactly what the big thing is. I know there's like a disease thing going on. Let's talk about the physical structure. You start near the top of a tower in the game. And I think that on paper could provide a really interesting, different sort of pacing, because you don't really see that a lot in games. A lot of the time you're starting at the base and climbing your way up. But in this game, you're starting near the top of a tower and descending down. The problem with that is in a game that is inherently exploratory and about just kind of observing and seeing things, it's delivered linearly. Not entirely linearly, it's not like handhold linear, but you're on top of a tower. To go down, you have to kind of go through each floor. Sure, you could jump and skip floors here and there. You don't you're probably not going to engage with every single room on every floor as you go down. You could rush straight down to the very bottom if you want. But in general, you're seeing not the whole world is this tower, mind you, but like half, maybe even over half of the world is this tower. The tower itself does provide a really fun kind of dynamic of rich D-bags destroying the world to make themselves more comfortable and actively avoid perceiving or acknowledging all the problems that they themselves are causing. The tower isn't just a tower, it is physically walled off with paintings of a sunset on the inside of the wall so they don't have to see the world that they destroy themselves. And then there's the whole rot in the core of the tower, which may be a little bit of a heavy-handed metaphor, but the literal rot in the middle of the tower that is spreading, and they are just straight up ignoring it. There's people that are dying, people who are also rich D-bags who are dying from this, and everyone just kind of pretends it's not happening. Or they acknowledge it and kind of be like, oh, well, it's not going to affect me, so it's not my problem. Or, I hope it doesn't affect me. I don't care that it affects others, but the fact that it affects me, I'm special. It's a little bit on the nose. I think the Sludge Life 2 does have that problem in general, where this goes back to the writing thing. The world and writing thing is that it feels a lot more on the nose and punctual, and like you could probably tell that I don't really like super on the nose narratives. The second half of the world, where it's just like the first Sludge Life game, where it's kind of just flat on the ground, it felt less enticing. There's a lot less infrastructure on that surface layer, and it kind of just feels like a watered down version, a smaller watered down version with less interesting points of interest than the first game. I will say that I did warm up to it towards the end. I do think it does get better as you approach the end of things and get towards the outskirts of the flat area and find I don't even remember what the plot is. There's some sort of plot that goes on with the backrooms of the casino or whatever it was, but that does make things better. And again, I do want to stress that it is still a good game. There's still some really cool set pieces, good environments to good characters, good writing. It's an interesting world inherently. It's just somehow for a sequel feels more amateurish, and I feel like that's mostly because they wanted to go bigger and better and try more interesting things, and it kind of just falls flat because of that. At least for me. Play the first Sludge Life. If you like the first Sludge Life, play the second Sludge Life. That's my thing. Katana Zero. I beat Katana Zero on the very first day of 2025. January 1st, I played it through the night because I was stuck on a couch while other people were sleeping. Good gameplay. Story is very obviously unfinished, and that's kind of annoying. I guess there's DLC coming at some point. I don't know what to say about it. It's good. It's not like back when it first came out, people were like, holy shit, this is the best thing ever made. And I don't think it's that crazy, to be honest. It's a very good indie game. It feels like a good indie game, and it feels like a lot of other good indie games. I don't have much to say about it, I'm realizing. Metroid Zero Mission. For a bit of context, this is my second Metroid game. The only, I've played Metroidvanias. I do actually really like Metroidvanias. I've just mostly played the indie ones. So this is my second Metroid-ass Metroid game. My first being Fusion. And the thing about Fusion, if you don't know, is that it's the least Metroid-structured Metroid game. It is not quite linear, but it is significantly more linear and handholdy. So coming off of that, Zero Mission felt extremely refreshing. The fact that it is a remastered NES game both comes with good things and bad things. The good being that it has a lot of just raw game design. No text or anything. I'm not one to complain about hand-holding in games and that sort of thing. I'm not that type of gamer. But I do really appreciate the active showing, not telling, when it is appropriate, and Zero Mission does that very, very well. It has a great guiding hand for at least like the first third of the game. There's a lot of just raw game design. I don't know. It's so simple and stripped back, and the game just gets to be a game. And it was so good for that. But it wasn't that good because after Kraid, the game kind of just starts falling off in quality. The Norfair section is a bit like esoteric. I got stuck constantly. The Ridley arena area, Ridley's lair, I guess you call it, is just, it feels straight up undercooked. And then there's the whole plot twist after Mother Brain, where this is where the NES game normally ends, but we're gonna do a twist here, and it's not actually the end, and there's more game. I thought that the actual twist there was very cool. Sorry if you haven't played it, but that was genuinely very cool. And then I started playing it. That whole section, I don't mind stealth gameplay. This wasn't good stealth gameplay. This is the Metroid Fusion version of stealth gameplay, in that it is super linear and scripted, and there's just flags everywhere. It is like the opposite of what the rest of the game is. That's not true. That's not actually true at all. I don't know what I'm saying here. What I'm trying to say here is that it's very obvious where the game wants you to get detected, where the game wants you to be hidden again, where they lose track of you. It's so scripted, and the enemies do so much damage, and it's just not fun. It's tedious. And then you get all of your powers back, and then you have this extremely linear area that is not built to be explored with all your full tools. And it just feels bad platforming around these platforms because they're not built for your old moveset. They're built for a unique moveset. These environments are built to be a linear trek. And It just feels bad platforming through that entire section of the game. It feels bad looking through it, searching for items. So the further I got into Zero Mission, the worse the design got. But at the end of the day, I still really, really liked the core of what was there. For most of the game, it was like, wow, this is just really, really solid, raw game design. Inherently simple, nothing mind-blowing, but it's just straight up fun. I just wish that it could retain the consistency of the first third throughout the game. Rabbit and Steel is a Final Fantasy XIV specifically inspired game. I haven't played Final Fantasy XIV. I'll get there. Surprisingly, I will get there. But it's a roguelike. I'm not big on roguelikes. You could probably guess that by now from this video alone. If you don't know me, I'm probably making noise here, sorry. But if you know me in a more historical sense, then yeah, you know I don't really fuck with roguelikes. And I mean, just like, this one was like any other. I got a win or two and I felt kind of done with the game as my friends kept playing it. It's a high skill cap kind of game, but I don't know, it's just good. It's just good. I don't know what else to say about it. It's a roguelike where you dodge and there's combat and you pick items, and I like the assassin because there's more layers of engagement rather than just cycling your spells. You gotta think about your positioning, and yeah, so I like the assassin character. That was fun, and I beat it a couple times and I felt done with it, and yeah, I like it. If this looks fun to you, I promise you it is very fun and well designed. I just don't replay shit. I feel like I'm doing this game a disservice. It is the third. It is a top 3 game of this year, and I feel like I could barely say anything about it because it's all gameplay. It's all gameplay, and the gameplay is just solid. It's very, very solid gameplay. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of very solid music tracks in there. Not a lot of it is my style per se, but I could tell that it's of high quality, and the tracks that I do like, I really like. There's your point proven. My point, even. Number 2, Great God Grove. This is another game that I feel like I just don't have a lot to say about, even though I really like it. Well, first of all, presentation-wise, it's just charming. Visually, very charming. Character designs are great. It is an extremely queer game. Audio-wise, I'm smiling in real life now. The OST is psych rock inspired. Not fully psych rock, but like a lot of the tracks are fully psych rock. Louis Zong, if you don't know who Louis Zong is, I'm sorry. But the fact that Louis Zong did the OST and it's psych rock, I don't really need to dwell on it. It's going to be amazing, right? Writing wise, it's really good. It's very wholesome. Again, it's very queer. The jokes are very, the jokes aren't so much set up in punchlines so much as they're more, I guess, circumstantial. I need to learn more like structural terms so I could actually label these things properly. But it's kind of like things happen and they're entertaining. But it is a very funny game, very entertaining. A lot of great characters. Shoutouts Thespius. Shoutouts basically all the Busy Boys. I love the Busy Boys so much. Bauhauzo, Huzzlemug, great. Coblegale is literally me, at least visually. Her voice hurts my ears, which to an extent is also me. My own voice is sometimes painful to listen to. Before you fucking comment, oh, but I like your voice. Yeah, you don't have to fucking edit it and live with yourself. Live with the fact that it sounds differently than how it sounds in your head. Plot-wise, it's wholesome. It's very... Oh, wait. Let's step back here. I want to say about the writing and its humor in general. It is a game that is family-friendly, and I don't mean that in the way that kids shows are family friendly so much as I mean it as, like, they don't talk about sex in a way where a kid will understand they're talking about sex, but they do talk about sex. Like, an adult will understand, oh, this is horny. And as someone who is kind of about sexuality, I am on the asexual spectrum. It is great. I don't know. Sex jokes are funny. The way they handle sexuality is, I don't know, it's really great. It's never big boobs and asses, but it is able to talk about sexuality in a realistic and fun way. And again, if you had kids here, I seriously doubt that they'd understand that there's anything corny going on, which is admirable. Don't take my word for it. I don't have kids. I don't plan on having kids. I don't know if most of my audience would have kids. I don't fucking know who my audience is. Okay, that's a lie. I know that I have a larger than normal amount of trans women subscribing to me, but that's typical since I am one. Actual plot. First couple chapters, like, I don't know if this game is ever going to actually have a point to it, but it does, and I'm not going to say that what it is, but I think it was very well delivered and well handled, and it hits a lot harder than I expected to, and I think I could just leave it at that. We're in the 4 out of 5 range, this in the number 1 spot, by the way, which 4 out of 5 I rank as, like, great games that actually, like, really stick with me and I think about, and I could kind of tout along as my bag of Marcy things that are personable to me, I could attach myself to a little. Anyways, yeah, so this is the number 2 game of 2025. I played in 2025, I think it released 2024. Anyways, that's besides the point. I kind of struggled to find stuff to say about that one. Hopefully that wasn't too rambly. I mean, this whole thing's rambly. What am I fucking talking about? Listen to me. I mean, I guess at this point you have been listening to me for probably a good 45 minutes now. It's been an hour and 10 minutes, an hour and 11 minutes recording this. So much white space between sentences and words. You don't have to fucking listen to me talk about my own gripes with editing. That's not what you're here for. My number 1 game, Off. You know, the Off, the classic RPG Maker game that was very influential. Not the remaster that came out this year. The remaster that came out this year inspired me to play the original, because it came out and I was like, wait a second, but what, huh? But isn't this game free? Wait, hold on, this is a free game. Why? But wait, they're adding new content though, but from what I know, how do you add new content? This was what was going through my head when I was seeing people talk about the remaster, and so I played the original, which I only knew of before now, without actually playing fully, to kind of justify my feelings of this remaster is pointless. I mean, please give Mortis Ghost your money. Mortis Ghost deserves your money, but as, like, in terms of, like, what the game is and as a product or whatever, if you own a PC, just go play the freeware version, please. I mean, give Mortis Ghost your money, and then, like, there's no point to not play the remaster. Actually, you do have a reason, and that's the remaster's music is worse than the originals by a good margin. Sorry, Toby Fox, but you also admitted to it that you could never live up to the original, and you were correct about that. And if anyone thinks that I'm being an asshole about that, no. The original has very notorious music for a reason, and you're allowed to prefer Toby Fox's, and that's okay, but the original's music is really good for what the game is. Anyways, going into Off, I knew about the very ending of the game. Like, that final room of the game, I went in knowing what happened in that final room of the game. And to be completely honest with you, be completely blunt, based off of how people talked about the game, based off how people talk about art in general, and based off of when it came out, I fully expected the whole game to be a lead up to this twist at the end that catches you off guard, because no one ever expects the player character to be the villain. And I am so glad to say that it is doing so much more than just being a setup for a twist. It didn't click right away for me, which is honestly the sign of an amazing game. Can you tell that I don't like blunt writing yet? But the thing about the game is that it sat with me. I had questions about it, and I had to run it over my mind several times, and it stuck with me for several days after I beat it, and I was just thinking about it, and it just clicked. I understand what Off is trying to say. I understand what Off is about. And because I'm proud of myself, and I feel like this is a conclusion that is not the most common one, Off is about power. A lot of people, I feel like the most common answer is saying that Off is about mortality. I don't agree. Off is about power. I'm not going to get into it. That is honestly good standalone video material. Please enable me if you want to that. But yeah, no, it's God. The art style. Okay, let's start with the art style. The art style, I kind of joked about this in a Blue Sky post, but you'd think that Off would be a game that was fundamental to me instead of something I played just this year, considering that the art style of the game is so similar to not just my drawing art style, but just like my general philosophies on stylization, with its very, very rough and almost horror-esque pencil drawings, clashing with the bright colors and the colorful motifs, the colored motifs, and the crunchy, fucking squashed down, compressed kind of things happening with the portraits that are kind of somewhat intentional, and then how it uses and abuses the motifs it uses, sets up with the color and with the post, what do they call it, the worlds after you beat the bosses in those worlds, how it kind of like changes the entire context and it uses it and abuses it, and I'm stumbling over my words, and that's how you know I'm in fucking love with this thing. In terms of actual gameplay, it is the most simple, boring, mash one button, RPG Maker-ass RPG game. The puzzles are just normal puzzles. They don't really do anything super clever with it. The best I could say about the gameplay is that it doesn't impede you. It's so brainless and easy that you're not actually going to get stuck with something. It's brain dead without being too much of a chore because it's not actually difficult. It's all in the presentation and writing. Writing on a smaller scale of just like character interactions and just characters in general is great. Very entertaining. Very realistic, humored characters. Well humored is kind of the wrong term here because it's usually used by old books to mean good-natured, but I mean like there's a lot of baked-in humor to the world and characters, even if it is a very serious, very harrowing story that it's going for, which I love that juxtaposition. I love having good humor and I love having absolutely harrowing narratives. There's so much for me to love about Off. Even if you don't understand the themes that are going on, even if you don't kind of build the narrative in your head, that's a weird way of putting it. Even if Off doesn't click for you, you're gonna enjoy the writing just by virtue of it being entertaining. Zachary is extremely entertaining. I love the judge. I love Zachary. Oh my god, just the entirety of Zone 2 is so good. The song that plays there, Desperately Safe, oh, it's so good. The entire themes of that zone, the boss, the citizens, the dynamics between everything that's going on. I definitely think Zone 2 is the peak of the game for me, personally. Yeah, no, this would be an all-timer for me if it weren't for the fact that the gameplay is kind of not something I ever want to engage with. I mean, it's fine. Again, it is completely passable. I was not frustrated by the fact that I was playing the game. There was nothing to enjoy when I wasn't reading the dialogue. I don't know. It's well deserving of its status. It's not just the first indie game to do something clever, and it is in fact a whole ass thing that stands on its own as a whole ass product to its core. Amazing. It's not one of those cases of legendary games that just inspired better things that come after it. It inspires things that come after it while also being its own thing that you can't really do again because everyone will be like, oh, this is just Off. Never mind, don't include that. That sucks. I always feel like I'm not doing these game services when I'm just I'm not doing the games the justice they deserve when I'm just rambling off the top of my head. Even when I write scripts, I feel like I end up focusing more on negative nitpicking rather than what makes it great. But I don't know, Off was an absolutely fantastic thing that if you're the pretentious art head like me who enjoys a good-ass narrative with themes, heavy themes of society and humanity, go play Off. It's free on your computer. Download for free online Mario. Free Mario download now online.